It is Friday, January 12th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. And I start off by wishing you and the lovely Olivia a happy anniversary. Congratulations. What year?
It's the 11th year of marriage.
Hmm.
Thank you, Chris. I woke up and got on my hands and knees and just thanked the Lord for providing me a beautiful wife and mother to my children.
Hmm.
You know how much I care about Olivia. If you
That is
meet me
true.
for a second, you know how much I care about Olivia. So we're gonna have a good time today.
What are we doing? Are we playing pickleball? Are we going to play tennis? We're going to have a
I think
nice
tennis
lunch
is
on
in
the
the cards.
beach?
I think breakfast is in the cards. I think like a nice walk is in the cards. So we have some stuff planned.
Okay, good.
We already went
Uh,
out to
bu-
dinner.
oh, all
Went
right.
out to
All
dinner a
right.
couple days ago.
But let's get it going. Today's show with the reason I'm wearing a Yankees hat because I did not choose this intentionally, just because the Yankees made some news. Marcus Stroman, 2 years, 37 million plus a reachable vesting option for another year, and that's strictly his decision. Should he throw enough innings in the second year of his deal? What do you think Yankees fans are feeling this day about it?
Well, I know what Yankee fans are feeling because unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I follow a lot of Yankee fans on social media. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it gives me a headache, but I think the general consensus, at least that I've seen, is they're happy that you got a pitcher of Marcus Stroman's caliber into the rotation. I think that's a great depth piece for them, and he can pitch, at that number two starter level still. So I think it's a great signing for them. But I think everyone in Yankee universe or whatever they call it is, they're waiting for more. They don't think this is enough. But I got news for Yankee fans. I don't know if they're going to get more. Now there is news that they offered Blake Snell and he turned it down. Who knows if that's accurate or not? But they're over that last tax threshold. So anybody they sign in 2024, they're going to be paying 110% tax on. Now they might not care about that, especially if they feel like, hey, we got Juan Soto for sure this year. We don't know if we're going to keep him, going forward. They're hoping for that, but I think that I could see them pushing their chips in for this year, which would mean maybe they go trade for a starter that has 1 year left, and they kind of just say, hey, this is our year. We'll reset next year and try to make things work as far as the tax in 2025. But that's the feeling that I've seen around social media. I'm curious if you have a different take on it, but I feel like they want more. But I'm telling you, you should be happy with getting Marcus Stroman because I think he's very well suited for New York. The way he pitches, keeps the ball on the ground. That's good for Yankee Stadium. And I think it's going to go one or two ways. It's going to go really, really well in New York or really, really poorly in New York. Um, but yeah, that's it, man. I think they feel like there needs to be more, but I'm telling you guys, I don't know if there is.
Well, let's just start with the player himself. I think that to get Marcus Stroman for 2 years and 37 million,
It's
it's a
good.
pretty good deal. He's
Yes.
a heavy ground ball pitcher. He doesn't give up home runs at all. So he'll keep you in the yard, even in a small place like New York. Um, so I think that part they should feel good about. Listen, last year, the first half of the season, he could have been in line to start the All-Star game. That's how good he was for most
Yes.
of it. Then he got the blister. Then he got the hip injury and the rib injury in the second half and just was not the same pitcher and kind of limped to the finish line toward his free agency season. Well, free agency because he opted out of the last year of his 3 year contract with the Chicago Cubs, thus making him a free agent. So I think as far as the pitcher goes and the competitor, I think that's great. It is another in the line of the kind of what if behind Garrett Cole, right? What if Carlos Rodon returns to
Yes.
form? What if Nestor Cortez returns to the all-star type pitcher that he was a couple of years ago? But there's a lot of those what ifs. And I think that Stroman falls not as much in line with those two, but a little bit, certainly. Now you get to the Marcus Stroman experience, which I think is part of who he's been his entire career, right? He's 5'8" or whatever. He's like, I'm good enough for New York City at a time where Brian Cashman says he's not a difference maker. And so he didn't end up there in 2019 as part of a trade. There was always, it felt like a combustible relationship a bit in New York. And I felt like that was accentuated even more when Stroman kind of hinted at some of the reasons he didn't like the Mets and his stay in Queens without actually telling us exactly what went on. And the fact that he is very boisterous and active on social media, which is certainly his right. Now, he cleaned up part of his social media. If you go back and try and find certain things that he liked or certain things that he put out there, they're no longer there during his free agency trek. But I wonder if he can help himself when he has those bad outings, when the fan base starts to turn on him a little bit, when there's some things going on nationally that he doesn't care for. Like in New York, everything gets blown up a little bit more. So to me, that's part of his deal.
Now, would you agree, like, if you play for the Mets, which he obviously has before, is that less of a New
Yes.
York media train than the Yankees?
It is.
I think it is too.
I think it is.
I mean, I didn't play for either franchise, but I think it is a little bit different. Like the Yankee cap is a different. It's heavier, right? That's what they want you to believe anyway.
Well, it can go both ways. It can be, you could be raised on a higher pedestal when you do great things in the Bronx as opposed to Queens. And I know that Mets fans might not love to hear this, but I think that they would probably say, yeah, you're right. I mean, it goes either way. And then, yeah, there's more, much more that comes your way, both good and bad. And so I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that side of it works out. Don't you think that that's part of the equation with him?
I do, and I'm wondering if somehow it is blown out of proportion, because I've known guys that have played with him and they say he does his own thing. He is a good teammate. I've had fun playing with him. He works hard. I mean, these are the things you care about. Like, do you work hard and do you show up and do your job? That's all you really care about. You don't have to get along with everybody, but everyone I've talked to is like, yeah. So sometimes I think the media overblow. Is that?
The stories get overblown. Yes.
Overblown. I think they might be doing that with him. All this talk that we have about, hey, what's he going to do? Is he going to disrupt the culture of the clubhouse? Like, I think he's going to go do his job. I really do.
Well, I don't think I don't know if the question is so much that, because you didn't hear a ton, whether it was out of Toronto or New York or Chicago, that he was a bad teammate. I think it's probably quite the opposite, that the guy's kind of a bulldog. Like, that's how he has made his way in baseball and has stayed kind of where he has in the pecking order, because he's wanted the baseball and he believes in himself. I'm talking about outside of that. And in New York, where they are all over everything, and if he likes a tweet that can be deemed controversial, which he has in the past, when you put on that Yankee cap, you can't run away from that. That's what I'm saying, is that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, if you're Marcus Stroman, you take your phone and you hand it to your handler and say, you're running my social media now. You do all the posts. Yeah.
God, I don't know. I don't know if I do that. Unless you have the sort of relationship where you say, well, doesn't everything have to get cleared by him?
I mean, everyone's different, but like, I know a lot of guys that don't run their own social media accounts.
Yeah.
Like, you still can grow it and do all these things and put stuff out there for the fans, but you don't have to be the one reading the replies, or everything is at that point then scripted. And I would advise anybody that signs a big deal in New York to do that.
Right. Well, it's going to be awfully interesting, no question. All right, so there's several reports that the reason that the Yankees turned to Marcus Stroman was because they made an offer to Blake Snell, and the numbers just didn't work. Now, we don't have any exact numbers. I don't want to give this guy any pub, because I don't know if he's truly an insider, so I'm not going to go that direction. Big picture here. Are you worried that Blake Snell is overplaying his hand?
I don't think so, C. Rosie. I feel like this is exactly what he needs to be doing. I mean, he is a Boras client. We've seen Boras wait out the market plenty of times before. Blake Snell does have a ton of leverage. I think when we talk about Blake Snell, too often we see him or view him as damaged goods. Like, this guy isn't an ace caliber pitcher. He's got 2 Cy Youngs. Go check out the career numbers on this guy. It's legit. 3.2 career ERA last year, winning the Cy Young. He's done it in both leagues. But for some reason, we have he walks too many guys and he doesn't pitch deep enough in the games. He does it a little bit differently than everybody else. But do you want those numbers at the end of the year? Yes, you want those numbers at the end of the year. So I think there are still plenty of teams in on Snell. No, I don't exactly know what he wants. If he wants a sixth or a seventh year, I think teams will eventually give in because you're getting a guy in Blake Snell who doesn't cause problems. Like he does, I don't believe he drinks at all. Like he's just like a solid guy that loves playing baseball. Like that is who he is. And you get this crazy, amazing caliber pitcher to go along with it. So some team is going to give it up, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Angels, whether the Yankees come back in the fold. I don't know. I don't think they will. But I think we're going to find that 5 years, 150 is probably not where that number is going to end up. I expect him to get more than that.
Yeah, I don't think the idea is that he's overplaying his hand. And I do want to kind of answer a question that you just asked, like, why is everybody nitpicking? It reminds me a little bit of the experience of looking at these college football quarterbacks that come out into the draft, right? And we can use Caleb Williams of USC as an example. Like if he had come out the year before, he would have been the surefire #1 overall pick. There would have been no questions asked about it. But he went back into this year, had to play another year. He played very well for the most part, but he had the time where he went up into the crowd and cried next to his mom and then some other stuff. And it's like we're almost looking for reasons not to make him the #1 overall pick and the franchise quarterback that everybody thought less than a year ago that he would be. So I think that that's what people are doing. And certainly when you're trying to make an investment, whether it's 150, 180 or $200 million, you have to kind of find the warts on somebody and say, can we live with them? Right. So I think that that's kind of it with Blake Snell, that the problems are that he does walk too many people. That's a fact. The other fact is that he doesn't give you the length that a Garrett Cole, who won the Cy Young in the American League, did. That's just who he is. So I guess if you know that going in, you just have to be comfortable with whatever number you guys eventually settle on. Now, for me, I'm trying to play the game. Well, where can he end up? Because if it's not the Yankees, and I'm not so sure that they're out of it 100%, San Francisco, well, they just traded for another former Cy Young Award winner in Robbie Ray. Seattle, his hometown, it feels like they're okay pitching-wise, and it feels like they're not trying to add payroll. Toronto, like Kikuchi's in the last year of his deal, but he's only $10 million on the books. They still are going to pay Gossman and Bassett and Barrios. And, oh, by the way, they're going to have to figure out how to pay Vladdy and Pichette. The Mets, like, are they going to want to go in here? Their two highest paid starting pitchers this year are going to be pitching for the Astros and the Rangers. So I don't know exactly where he fits. There might be a surprise team out there. So I'm trying to play the team game here with him.
I think there's a lot of teams that maybe we haven't even thought about that, if they feel like the price is coming down or they can get him, at a certain AAV, they'll do it. I mean, I think the Dodgers still have room to make a move, which is crazy to think about. They do, Chris. I mean, the way they've structured, Ohtani's deal really helps out with this, obviously, but, they still have room. I just think when a guy like Blake Snell is available, and again, I'll go back to just like who he is as a person. Like when you invest money into somebody, I think who you are as a person means a lot, especially if you're talking about 6-7 years on a contract being in your organization. You want to make sure he's the guy, dude. Like he's the guy you want. Like he's going to be a good class guy. He's not going to mess up off the field. Like he's going to get paid.
I'm going to set the over under at 168.
That's a good one. Dang. 168, 6 years. I'll take over. Right over. I can say like a 6-year 175. How about that?
Slightly under. I'm going slightly under. I'm rooting for him to get over. I'm all about players getting paid, but I'll play the opposite game.
And this one is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. And all you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BASEBALL today. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BASEBALL today. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
All right. Speaking of left-handers that are getting paid, Shota Imanaga, he is headed to the north side of Chicago, guaranteed $53 million over 4 years, but there's all sorts of ways that that number could go up. He is not Shohei. He is not Yamamoto, but how excited should Cubs fans be?
You're right. He's not either of those guys. That was good. Good observation.
Thank you.
I think you should be really excited. I mean, I think for the caliber of pitcher that he can be, I think that's a very fine deal for the Cubs to go out there and give. And, I think pretty much every team in the big leagues is looking for that middle of the rotation depth. And I think that's exactly what the Cubs are going to get. A lefty that kind of mixes all over, the quadrant. He's like a pitcher to me, C Rose, which is awesome. He's got some plus stuff. Fastball, slider, has the split that's been really good. Doesn't walk anybody, strikes out people, like kind of checks all the boxes except for like the stature and even some of the velo and stuff like that. But he's a guy that knows how to pitch, keep guys off balance. He can bust you up if he needs to. The off speed stuff works. Like I said, generates a lot of swing and miss. So if you're Cubs fans, I think you're ecstatic. And I said this on Talking Baseball. If he's starting a playoff game for you, you're stoked. I think that's like almost like a litmus test that you can use for like free agent pitchers. Like, would you be happy with him starting a playoff game? And I think you could be. We saw him do it in the WBC, against Team USA in the final game. Like, they trusted him to go out there and shut those guys down. I know that's a little bit different, but you faced a team full of freaking superstars and won the game. Like, I think if you're a Cubs fan, you have trust in him until he shows you that you can't trust him. And that's a good thing.
I think it's a great move. If the deal ends up being like 5 years and $80 million, then that means that he did some good things. It sounds like. So once again, good middle of the rotation guy. I think Cubs fans were just excited that they made some move other than signing Craig Counsell to a deal. Like, I think they were like, holy smokes, do they know that we have to improve this team? Like, where have we been? Did our executives and our decision makers take a 2-month nap? Like, it was ridiculous that the Cubs didn't do anything. And so this was nice for them. I don't think this can end their offseason, right? I mean, they got to figure out a way either to get Cody Bellinger back to the north side of town or to replace him. I don't think they've done that yet, although we will talk about a move that maybe could help lighten the load a little bit in that area. But yeah, it's good. I mean, this is an interesting rotation now, right? Justin Steele looks like he has just totally taken the next step and is a dude that you can lock in at the top of that rotation for a while. Kyle Hendricks, still there. Jameson Taillon, you kind of know what you're getting these days from him, which is a nice thing. So it's a good rotation. It's good in a division where it feels like there's going to be 4 teams around that could win it, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't even know. We did this also on Talking Baseball. Like, who do you think all these Vegas books have as the odds-on favorite for the NL Central right now? It's a fun game to play.
Because I don't check those things. I'm going to guess Chicago.
Cardinals.
Do they really?
Yeah.
They think that the Sonny Gray and adding the other 2 veterans has made that much, and the rest they're going to bounce back.
I mean, they have a roster. It was just the worst year possible for them. They're banking on a bounce back year from everybody.
Huh.
Yeah, interesting, right? I mean, it is going to be quite the division race. I don't know if we're going to be talking about like a juggernaut division that's going to come in and crush the playoffs, but I think it's going to be interesting to see who, wins that division.
Well, I think the interest could be which GM is willing to pull the trigger in July to improve their squad 100%. As well. Like that, I think that makes it fun. And the fact that we both feel like there's 4 teams that could win the division, not a lot of divisions that you could say that about. So I think that's a good thing. Speaking of the Cubs, they made a deal with the Dodgers. They got LA's number 2 overall prospect, Michael Busch, and reliever Yency Almonte for Chicago's number 8 prospect, Jackson Ferris, and a minor league outfielder as well. Doesn't it feel like this is a huge win, though, for Chicago, getting the Dodgers' #2 prospect?
I don't really pay attention to where guys are ranked. I know we reference it on time for time on this show, but everyone's prospect rankings are different.
Right?
Jackson Ferris was the Cubs' 8th prospect. He slides in now. MLB has him ranked as the Dodgers' 5th prospect. So it's like, I don't really
Right.
pay a lot of attention as far as value on those numbers. I know it's good to reference it. I think it works out for both sides here. Michael Busch was blocked. We've seen that from time to time. A guy that's just tearing up AAA, obviously is a major league caliber player. Where's he going to play? Like you move Mookie Betts into second base. That if you're in the organization, like what just happened? What like how did this come to fruition? Then you get Freddie Freeman. Like the guy was blocked in LA, so I think it's nice to let him go. And it sounds like he's going to be the Cubs' primary first baseman, though he might move around a little bit. So I think it's good for him. Yency's going to go in the bullpen, do his thing. I think there's he has some ability to miss some bats, so he'll slot right in there. For me, this guy Jackson Ferris, I watched some video on him for the Dodgers, or he's with the Dodgers now, but I watched some video on him. This guy's 6'4", lefty,
Hmm.
like people call him a bulldog. I watched an interview with him where he just talks about all I want to do is compete and win. Like has the makeup that you want, has the stuff that can play up. I think he hits like 97, tops out. I'm scared of that guy. If you're Cubs fans, like I'm happy we got Michael Busch and this guy's going to come up and do these things, but this 6'4" lefty out of the IMG Academy in Florida, I feel like the Dodgers are going to, be happy with this trade, in a couple years.
Yeah, that's why I won't say that it is one-sided. But I will say this, that I always thought that if Michael Busch was going to get traded, it was going to be for some sort of established big leaguer that was going to help the
Sure.
Dodgers immediately. Now, I understand this, right? Because it cleared a couple of, 40-man spots for the Dodgers, one of which they need when they officially signed Teoscar Hernandez, and then who knows what else they're going to do. So the Dodgers are kind of at the point where they need to open up some roster spots. So that part I get. But I just always felt like if you heard Michael Busch's name, hey, Michael Busch got traded, you were going to wonder, oh, really? Is it for Shane Bieber? Is it for Dylan Cease? And then you're like, it's for Jackson Ferris? Like you're
We're
like,
going to
oh, I
clip
got to
this.
go.
In 2 years, we're going to clip
Hey,
this.
I, you're right. And that's very possible. But I think my point is still well regarded in that when you trade a top prospect, it almost always is for some immediate help, not down the road. But maybe that just shows you how good the Dodgers organization is that they can afford to wait and see it through.
Yeah. You want to know who this guy's comp is on MLB.com?
Let's see, a 6'4" lefty. How hard's he throw?
Like mid 90s.
Eh, is he still a major leaguer?
He is. We just talked about him.
Blake Snell?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Love
Good.
that.
Yeah.
See, the Dodgers don't need Blake Snell. We got Blake Snell at home.
It'll be interesting. That's what I
That
think.
was a joke, Rose. Come on.
Yeah, I hear you. Last one. Huge Pirates fan. I believe his last name is pronounced Dan Geisey. He got a
Okay.
tattoo of Andrew McCutchen on his calf and then had Kutch sign it upon completion. Is that true dedication? Or if that's you on his leg, are you thinking, man, that's a little too much?
I think if it was me on his leg, I think it's a little too much. But a guy like Kutch who like embodies, the Pittsburgh Pirates and is part of that city's fabric, I'm okay with it. But if you get a random person's face or, bust tattooed on you, it's a little different. But I like this a lot. McCutchen is the Pirates. The Pirates are McCutchen. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm always curious. Like I don't have any tattoos. Our oldest son has 7 of them. So I don't quite understand the idea of putting something permanent on your body anyway, let alone somebody who doesn't have an attachment to you. Like I
He
get it if
obviously
you
has an attachment to Kutch. He's probably provided great memories for that guy.
Yeah, I can't imagine getting Albert Bell on my calf today.
That's a good tattoo. You just
No, yeah.
forearm shivering somebody.
Oh yeah. That'd be good stuff. Um, interesting I bring that name up. He's becoming like a texting buddy of mine.
Albert Bell?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's bizarre.
What do you guys
I
text about?
Well, I had to reach out to him about an event in Cleveland that they wanted him to do, and unfortunately, because of schedules, it didn't work out. But now he texts me like 3 times a month.
I'm pretty happy for you.
I know it's pretty crazy.
We
It
just need to
really
get Kenny
is.
Lofton in your Rolodex as well. Then you and Kenny and Albert have a group chat together. And then all of a
Yeah,
sudden
that'd
you
be
guys are
good.
meeting up for dinner. And then all of a sudden Kenny Lofton gets in the Hall of Fame and he starts buying you guys dinner. And then you guys
Mm.
go on
It's gonna
vacation
it's gonna have to be
together.
that special committee. He fell off the ballot,
I
so
know.
that's kind of a bummer.
I think he will get in.
All right, listen. You and Olivia, congratulations on 11 amazing years. Well, congratulate her for making it through. You just, you know,
I'm an excellent husband, Chris.
you are an
I
excellent
am.
husband. I know you are. You're an excellent human. See, I told you at the beginning, those two writers, they made it a point to say hello to you.
I like
They
that.
initiated that conversation. And I love you too. You know that. And
This is
have fun
great.
this
Thank you.
weekend, by the way. Don't you have a fun weekend coming up?
We have a fun weekend. We're leaving early tomorrow morning, so I'm excited.
Off to
Which
Detroit.
which which means baseball today will be coming out on Tuesday next week, not Monday.
Yes. No worries about that. Happy to do it. So tell your beautiful bride, congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. Very proud of you guys. For our one of a kind producer, Dan Rourke, I cannot wait till he and Marcus Stroman get into it on X. I am counting the
He's
days on
blocked,
that
I
one.
think. Aren't you blocked, Dan?
Dan, are you blocked?
On everything, Instagram and Twitter.
Of course you
I
are.
I told our guys, I said, hey, this is going to be an interesting year for you navigating that relationship. It's not a great relationship between Stroman and some of those guys. So
Do you think that we can mend it at the opening press conference? Do you think that
no, I
Dan
don't
Rourke
think you
could
can.
offer?
No,
That'd be great if, whether it's on Zoom or in person, I'm going to guess Zoom, if we send Dan Rourke in and he gets a spot in the media group. Yeah, Dan Rourke from John Boy Media. I'm wondering if you could unblock me, please. Be legendary. I'd love to see
everybody else
that.
raises their hand. Me too. Me too.
Okay. So for our one of a kind blocked producer, Dan Rourke, the uber talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Tuesday on Baseball Today.